The Niners almost have no weaknesses. And they may have no weaknesses. They're really good. But if you had to say what their Achilles heel is, to me, ironically, it's their run game. Now, they rushed for a bunch of yards yesterday. Jordan Mason finished it out. But Christian McCaffrey, not a weakness. Hell of a running back. Jordan Mason, hell of a running back. And yet, the Niners are 14th in yards per carry in the league. 4.5 yards per carry. That's league average. They're average at running the ball with those running backs?
Surprising.
So I have a theory as to what's going. To me, it's a blocking issue. I don't think it's the running backs. I don't think it's the coaching. I think it's blocking. And, we've talked about Brendel and McGlinchey, but to me, the real fall off here is Kittle. In the past, Kittle was like the best blocker on the team on run plays, and he would take guys and just move them down the field, and Mostert would just follow him and get 8 yards untouched. Now, I don't really see that same type of explosive strength from Kittle as a blocker, and so teams are setting the edge on the Niners really well, and they're forcing McCaffrey to cut back in the tackle between the tackles, which, it's not his strength. Not that he's bad at it, but the Niners just aren't getting to the edge in the run game like they did 3 years ago, and the reason they got to the edge so consistently in the past was Kittle. He was such a good blocker, and now I don't think there used to be highlight blocks of him weekly. I don't remember anymore of him. So that to me is the issue. They need to stop running outside zone because you don't have that dominant tight end at the point of attack. You should be running between the tackles with freaking Jordan Mason because it's working. And you have guys like Aaron Banks who can pull and maul people.
Yeah, I don't know if I see it as Kittle as much as personnel using Jordan Mason when you should be using him versus you're not playing the CMC strengths when you're running him between the tackles. It's just not who he is. And you're not using Jordan Mason, and that is his strength. He's a power runner. And he also has really good vision as well. So I think the biggest problem with the run game is using the way they're using CMC in it and the way they're not using Jordan Mason. And maybe some of it is blocking. Maybe I think there might be a little Brindle in there, might be causing some of the issues. But, I think it's just a personnel. If I have one complaint about Kyle Shanahan, it's and I've had a lot in the past, but I think he's doing really well. But if I'm nitpicking, it's personnel, using Jordan Mason more, being more cautious with how you're using CMC, playing to his strengths, playing to Jordan Mason's strengths. I think that's the biggest issue I see with this run game right now. And I think when you had Jeff Wilson Jr., he was able to do both, right? He could run between the tackles. He had a little bit of the outs. Like, he was kind of decent at both. And now you have CMC, who's really good on the outside, and you have Jordan Mason's really good on the inside, but you're not using them that way. And I think that's what I have noticed. I haven't paid much attention to George Kittle's blocking, to be honest with you. So I couldn't tell you.
The reason I say it is I've been watching them, but it's like they are trying to run Christian McCaffrey. They're trying to run him outside the tackles, but they're tossing him the ball in the outside runs, and they're giving him the outside stretch runs. And it seems like teams are doing a good job of setting the edge. The Seahawks did a really good job of setting the edge and dictating the cutback and forcing him back into the teeth of the defense, which is not what you want to do. And frankly, back in 2019, 2018, teams had a really tough time setting the edge because George Kittle's on this team. And now you're starting to see it more. So if you can't secure the edge like you could in the past, well, forget zone blocking. Do some, gap blocking. Double team at the point of the attack, pull the guard, and the problem with that is those plays are more suited to Jordan Mason than Christian McCaffrey. Oh, well. Yeah. You don't have to justify the Christian McCaffrey trade by giving him 50 million touches every game. Like,
it's already
if Jordan Mason is going to crack off a 50-yard run every 5 carries, like, just do what's working. I think just be more of a power. People want to take away the outside, then hit him between tackles with power. Yeah. Come on. That's what you do with Jordan Mason. It works. Do it more. Do it in the first quarter, not the fourth.
And when Elijah Mitchell is healthy, I would love to see Kyle Shanahan use all 3 of these running backs. Yes. And I think they could really develop this running game where we all thought, I think before the season, we thought the 49ers were going to have the best rushing game in the NFL. I think both of us said that, and it just hasn't worked out. But if they can get Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Mason all running, all getting touches, it could be tremendous. Hopefully that happens.
Yeah. It's tough to compete with Philly's run game when your quarterback isn't involved. That's part of what makes Philly's run game so good.
Yeah.
And that's part of why the Niners run game is kind of average this year, is because it's 10 on 11 run game.
Yeah.
That's another reason why they like Trey. So that's going to be something. This is going to be – look, Brock Purdy's doing really well, but they're going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to eventually face a really good defense. And if this run game doesn't improve, I mean, Seattle held it in check for most of the game, like the Chargers. Some bad run defense have held it in check. If a good defense can put the game 100% on Brock Purdy, the Niners are going to lose. He's not built to play that way. So – they're built to run the hell out of the ball, and they're average with really good running backs too. So they got to find something that works. I think they should be able to find. This
was the first game the 49ers had a 100-yard rusher, right? And it took 26 carries in order to achieve that. I believe it was. He was 100. I think he had 104 yards on like 26 carries, which is a lot of touches to get to the 104-yard mark. So yeah. The 49ers run game has been underachieving a little bit throughout the year. That's one of the reasons I questioned the line over the last couple of weeks. And I was, wanting to look at how they dealt with these good defensive lines that they were going to be facing against like teams like Tampa Bay. And they actually did a really good job in the passing game. So Washington next week is going to be another really good test for this offensive line and this run game.
Another reason I think their run game isn't as good as it should be is it's not just Kittle. I don't want to just single out Kittle. It's McGlinchey. It's Burford. It's Brendel. It's the fact that they can't really run to the right. They're much better at running to the left. I mean, how many times do you see George Kittle motioning from the right to the left, setting up next to Trent Williams with Juszczyk over there? It's like, okay, we know it's coming. And the Niners, I think, don't even really care. Like, they know that that's their strength and they're going to run that way. But if you're that left-handed, if you don't have balance and the defense doesn't really have to honor the whole field, you're not going to be dominant. You're just not. So that's a problem.
It's like a point guard that can only go right or can only go left in basketball. Right. It's the same thing. You gotta have both. So that's another thing that needs to develop, definitely, the right side.
And so McGlinchey, before he had these injuries the past few years, used to be a good zone blocking run blocker. He could get out in space. Now, I don't think he is anymore. Another reason that those plays aren't working. So find something he can do. I think his assignment on a power play is he doesn't have to run. It's just down blocking, down block. So I think that would suit him more too. It would be interesting to see the Niners go to a power running scheme, but that would mean actually using Jordan Mason. So I don't know. We'll see if they'll do it.
If they can develop this run game going into the playoffs, so they're going to be in a much better spot than they are now, which is incredible to think about.
They're going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Well,
they could.
Well, they could. Yeah. It's just they're a great story, and we think they're a Tier 1 team, but they haven't beaten a Tier 1 team yet. You know what I'm saying? And
Tier 1 defense.
Yeah, Philly, Buffalo, Kansas City, like those are Tier 1 teams. Are the Niners there? I don't know. They can beat all the other teams, though, except for Denver. Excuse me. That was Jimmy's fault.